The city of Laconia is no stranger to homelessness. Recently, a local charity gained approval to host the city's first ever low-barrier winter shelter. The faith-based Isaiah 61 Cafe is located in downtown Laconia and operates as a sort of hybrid hangout spot / soup kitchen that caters primarily to the city's homeless population.
Desperado, why don't you come to your senses?
The cafe started as just a day outreach to the homeless and the less fortunate in the area. We serve 2 meals a day, 5 days a week. We have showers, we have bathrooms, we have lockers for the homeless to store their things in. We also try to help with assisting for people to get rehab for drug addictions. We try to coordinate with different services around the city to just get people to the next level.
In early January, the city's planning board approved a request from the cafe to set up a low-barrier winter shelter. As a low-barrier shelter, occupants are not required to be sober in order to utilize its services.
And that is a need. It's a need because right now, prior to us here, there was no place for the people that are still under addiction to go. You have to be completely sober to go to the Belknap House or to go to the Carey House. And you have to carry that sobriety, as long as you're there. And that's impossible for people who are still struggling in it. And there's a lot out there that are still struggling. And that's what we knew because we see them in the cafe. Our cafe is a wet, cafe, meaning that they can come in with substances inside of their bodies, and as long as they can follow the rules, they're allowed to stay.
Well, in the beginning, there was no place for homeless people to go, but since Dave and Don opened the Isaiah's over on the other side, at least a lot of homeless people have a place to go, stay warm, have something to eat, have a nice hot shower, place to do laundry. And then I'm grateful that they could provide this place to make a homeless shelter for us to sleep in. Like I said, if it wasn't for them, people like us would still be on the streets during the winter time, and it's a bad time to be out one.
This is like a home to me, you know what I mean? Beautiful. And these people are beautiful, the owners, Dave and Don. Yeah.
It's been really nice to have a place to go, at the end of the day, when there's nobody with their door open. You come here and there's a place where you can rest your head. The people are great atmosphere, just caring people. It's like a family, away from your own, that you never had. And couldn't be happier to have a place to come to like this, you know what I mean? And people that have our backs, and there's a lot of people struggling out there, and for me it's a blessing because without that, last night I missed my bed. I was out in the cold all night long, and it wasn't fun, It's just a good reminder of the blessings that we don't know we have.
So we have already developed relationships with them, which is why it makes it different. Most wet shelters, I don't think there's that relationship prior to it, and so there's not the respect, and there's not the love, because that's what we're about. We're about loving them where they're at and trying to give them hope and encouragement to move forward in life.
Despite the planning board's approval, there is still a contingent of citizens who would rather not see the shelter set up in Laconia. Mike Delavecchia was one of 2 members of the planning board that voted in opposition to the shelter.
I hate to say I was one of the few people opposed to it. Many people are opposed to it but are afraid to admit it. The whole idea of it not being a sober house is negative to me because you're basically telling those people you could take all your money and spend it on alcohol and drugs because we're going to house you and we're going to feed you. So all your money you could buy your party goods. And it's a disservice to those people. You're not encouraging them to become sober. And then it's a detriment to the downtown because 8:30 in the morning you have 30 homeless people out there packing their carts and stuff, walking around, waiting for them to open up at lunchtime to feed them, and then again waiting to go back at night to check back in. It's not a great image for the downtown area.
I mean, I think they're better off inside than being hanging around outside, because when they're outside, they're continuing to do drugs and continuing to cause chaos amongst the businesses, amongst the homes that are around here. So we're bringing them inside with supervision. Once they're inside, they cannot do any further drinking or alcohol. And I'm super excited because I wasn't sure if people would be able to stay the night. I thought we'd have a lot of people leaving in the midst of the night because they can't handle it any longer and they have to go do their thing. But we actually have so many. Rarely do people leave in the middle of the night. It's actually been that they stay the whole time, which means, that's that much longer that they would be actually sober because it's wearing down and now they're in a sober state.
Isaiah 61 Cafe's next-door neighbor Donna Claremont spoke out against the shelter in the planning board meeting, but she did not respond to requests for comment for this story.
There's always going to be a certain percentage of people that just want to be drug addicts and alcoholics and suck off the system as best they can. Spend every dime. I don't know where they get their money for drugs, if they're prostituting, stealing, whatever they do.
It's actually it's sad because they're making judgment calls on people that they have no idea about their story, about their life. And they're one paycheck away from being in the same spot as where the people are. A lot of the people here are friends that we've gotten to know at the cafe. We listen to their stories, and it's not what a lot of people think. It's a lot of abuse. There's just a lot of selfish attitudes out there that don't put themselves in the other person's shoes, and they just want to judge and condemn. And we've met the most kindest, sweetest people in this cafe, and they are more loyal and faithful than some people that we know outside of this cafe. And they respect us, and they respect God, and they're finding hope.